All right, picture this. A bus has crashed. The driver, he fell asleep at the wheel, and he's veered off of a hill. Almost everybody is outside of the bus. They've just been smashed around. They've all spilled out of the bus. There's about 14 bodies scattered on the ground. There's blood, there's screams, there's wails, and there's only three people on the scene. One of them is Tim Kennedy. And what these three people have to do right now is repair these 14 people as soon as possible. Get them as good as possible while they're waiting for more hands to arrive. This is what Jocko is about to read to you in episode 340 of the Jocko podcast featuring Tim Kennedy. It's a wild incident, but there's something very valuable that you can learn from this one. I'm Coach Colin, coolest high performance coach in the world. And if you want more insights to the podcast you love, smash that subscribe button. Let's go.
Going to become a firefighter. In order to become a firefighter, the first step on this track many times is EMT.
Yep, that's right.
So you decide you're going to become an EMT.
Yep, at 18.
I'm going to go to the book. As I step off the truck and my boots hit the ground, I can already taste the dust. Continuing the horror movie motif, the things that immediately catch my eyes are hymnals being gently blown toward me across the ground. I can smell the burning fuel of the vehicle interlaced with the dust. I also smell the burning weeds near the van and the acrid smell of blood, urine, and feces. I now hear the wailing of people in pain, seemingly coming from everywhere. I realize quickly several people have been thrown from the vehicle. The wails are not screams. When people are screaming, they have their facilities and are generally aware of the acute pain and injury. Wails are worse. They come from a deeper place, inside a person. They happen when one's body is so broken that it cannot muster a scream or even a full breath. And those wails and moans flood my senses, freezing me where I stand. Again, I was just 19. I hear Tom finishing up the radio call. "Send everyone," he says. The radio operator understands and confirms. Tom places the radio back in its proper place and he hops out of the truck, and as he strides past me, he says, "Pick one." That's something my teenage brain can understand. Well, that's a rough one. There's basically a church van.
Yeah.
That crashes, and you guys are first on scene.
Yep. Driver fell asleep, stomped on the gas. They think they rolled over at 85 miles an hour northbound on the 101, crossed where the center divider doesn't exist, rolled, launching. You're in a van, church vans. You're not buckled up. Nobody was buckled up, and all it did was launch bodies across this rural landscape on the side of this hill. And, I just turned 19. I'd been with the fire department for 5 months. I had graduated from EMT school at Cuesta College 6 months before that. I knew nothing. I knew how to take vitals. I knew how to treat bleeding wounds. And my only experience in trauma had been, a couple of people self-inflicted, mental health type things. So this was on a scale of something I'd never seen and trauma that I'd never seen before. And I didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. As a child.
14 people were in the crash. And again, you describe everything with some awesome detail in the book, but all but one had critical kind of life-threatening injuries. And out of those 14, 7 were actually able to survive because of the work of you and the team. And you give a lot of credit to the team. As you're saying right now, you were young, just kind of following directions, trying to put together what you could. But a guy named Tom Way, Anthony Stornetta, and Keith Agson, just more experienced guys that could make things happen. And The kind of guys that you looked at and you said to yourself, all right, that's a good role model for me to try and emulate.
Yeah, you know, when you've seen this, chaos, screams, fire, blood, pain, there's always somebody that's cool, right? There's somebody that's always just like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And that just, I didn't have that, and I wanted that. And there's not a linear path to become that. And the frustration of standing over a body, and again, in this triage sense, the first body I run to, I start working on, and Tom Way just walks up and he's like, hey man, go find somebody else. And then I watch Tom not start working on that body. But this does not compute, right? Then like the neuros in my brain are like, why is he not treating this person that he just told him, oh, they're going to die. Mm-hmm. Got it. So I go to the next one, I start working, which is a child, and I start working on the child. And Tom comes over and he's like, hey, go find another one. And like that was just a knife, like this hot searing poker straight through my chest of like, oh my God, this little girl is going to die. And then I see Tom start working on her. I'm like, oh, okay, she's got a chance, you know. But now what do I do? Right? I picked 0 for 2. You know, like apparently I'm not picking the right ones. So go off to the next one, start figuring out. And there's still 3 of us. There's 14 bodies, and there's 3 of us on the ground. You know, then help another truck rolls up. Then the ambulance rolls up. Now we have 7 people that are there to work. We still have 14 bodies. You're like, we still don't have enough hands. So it is. I describe it nightmarish, and there's no way besides in like a horror film to depict what it feels like to be hearing those sounds, to be smelling all of those smells, and to be seeing this just carnage, you know, with the fire truck lights and the dust that's still settling, you know, in the California dry environment that we live in. It's, you know, it's wild. Shapes somebody though.
Yeah, again, for me, even being able to identify, hey, these guys, Tom Way, the way he was just acting, that's the way I should be acting. That's what I need to figure out. And like you said, it's not going to happen overnight, but at least you have some kind of a goal and you see a good example.
Yeah. There's this dude, Dave Payton, another example, big house fire.
So that's the story of the book. And if you want to see more of the podcast, the link is in the description. It's 5 hours and 49 minutes and about like 30 seconds or something like that. I've watched it a few times. It's worth it. Definitely worth it. Even if you just have it playing in the background while you're doing stuff, you'll get sucked into it 100%. But the first insight that I have there was exactly what Jocko just left off on. It's so imperative that, and again, you probably haven't gone through things as gruesome as what Tim just described. And maybe you have. Maybe you're one of the people who I've seen in the comment section who have actually served, and thank you for your service. But most people haven't gone through stuff even close to that, right? For me, the closest thing I've ever seen towards that is like after my dad's body was removed from his apartment, just the aftermath of like the room that he was in and, you know, the bloody sheets and stuff like that. That was the closest I've ever been to that. And that was hard. So I can't imagine. Just can't imagine, man. But yeah, the one thing that stood out that Jocko said was if he realized that he didn't have that calm, cool, confident demeanor that the other gentleman had, and he realized that he needed that. The way that you can apply this in your own life, if you are looking to do something, if you're looking to be somebody of integrity, if you're looking to be somebody who's good at sales, if you're looking to be somebody who has a strong mindset, like Jocko, like David Goggins, like Cameron Haynes, if you're looking to be more intellectual, and you realize you don't have that, you don't have that skill set, you don't have the knowledge that these people have, study those people. Study them. Figure out what they do. That's constantly what I'm doing when I'm watching these podcasts. I watch every podcast. I watch every interview. I take notes. Like I have notes in front of me. Like I go I go above and beyond because it's not just about a podcast, and it's not just about listening and hearing some stuff, but it's about learning who these people are, right? Just, and like he said, it's not going to happen overnight, but there are steps that these people took. And if you watch enough of their content and read enough of their books, you're going to get a direct window into their mind, into how they did it, where they came from, why they are the way they are, and just mimic, do your best impression of them going in day to day. What would this guy do in this situation? Well, he talks about integrity, he talks about self-respect, he talks about staying calm. You know what I mean? And just trying to have those traits. I said it in another video where it was like, think about someone you'd like to be like, and then write down all their traits that you can see in them. Then go a step further and study them even more so, and write down another 10 traits. There you go. You have 20 traits. Now follow them. Figure out what they all mean. I didn't know what integrity meant until I was like 30 years old. I had no idea what the word even meant. I knew how to use it in a sentence, but I didn't actually know what it meant. I had no idea. Do you know what these words mean that you say that you want? Do you actually know what the word discipline means? Or do you just have an example when I say that word? Do you actually know what it means? Go look it up. It's easier to exhibit the traits that we admire when we know exactly what they mean. It's one thing to see them. That's the first step. We can see them, have admiration. From the admiration, we get inspired. But then from being inspired, we got to do some work now, right? You can't just walk around inspired all the time. You can't just walk around motivated all the time. You got to do some work. Figure out what those words mean that person's exhibiting that's igniting something in you. That was the first insight that I got. You see somebody, you admire something about them, they're inspiring you, study them, figure out who they are, be that person. Dr. Eric Thomas, he's the #1 motivational speaker in the world. And when he first started out, he said he was doing his best impression of his friend. Forget what he said his friend's name was, but he was just imitating his friend. He had a friend who was super motivating and super engaging. And when he got on stage, he would do his best impression of him. That was it. It's that simple. You keep on emulating these people. You keep on learning about who they are. You keep on learning about the words, the traits that they exhibit. And eventually, you're going to take that on. It's going to go from you learning about it to you actually having it within you. But it takes work. It takes work. The second insight I got was when Tim was going around and he was looking at the bodies. And he went up to one body. And that person's going to die. Then he picks another body. And that person may live, but he's not the one to work on that. But the first body that he had to walk away from, he said, it hurt. It hurt. It was like, oh man, it was like a searing, he said it was like a knife to his chest. How many times in life are we presented with these decisions to make, and it ends up being the wrong decision, and we know it's the wrong decision, and we know what we're doing is wrong, and it's not working out? Sometimes, after you've tried, after you've really given it a go, you got to learn to walk away. You got to learn to walk away and just try something different. I've done it before. You can go look it up. There's a podcast called Colin's Process. Didn't work. I had to walk away from it. I have another one called Pros and Conquerors. Didn't work. I walked away from it. I can name a bunch. I can name so many. I had to walk away. They weren't working. And it hurt to have to walk away, but I tried. Didn't seem like they were going to live. I had to walk away. So, and the last insight I got from this was the fact that he walked into it, and yes, somebody escorted him into it that was calm, cool, and collected and gave him guidance. But at the same time, he himself could have just turned tail and run. He could have said, I can't handle this. He could have dropped his stuff and set him out. He could have done that. He had that option. Just seems like he didn't because he's the person that went through it, but he had the option to stop and just give up. He didn't stop. He didn't give up. The lesson in there, self-explanatory. There's going to be times where you're presented with terrible situations. And God forbid that they're as rough as what he just laid out. But they're going to be hard for you. And you got to not back up. And you got to not back down. And you got to push through. And you got to make a wrong decision and stumble and go, okay, what now? And try a different thing. Okay, what now? And keep doing it until you get through that situation. Because even if that situation's rough, all it does is prime you for the next time a situation like that arises. And the next time you're going to walk into it with more confidence. The first time you'll walk into it like this. You get through that situation. The second time you walk into it like this. You get through that situation. The third time you'll walk through it like this. And somebody will be standing beside you thinking, holy fuck, how is this guy so calm in this situation? Resilience. Resilience only comes from pushing through things. But anyway, link in the description, Jocko Podcast, episode 340. I'm out.